Yay!
Yeah, come on.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure. We're going.
All right, so thanks for coming, everybody. As you can tell, we're here from Hack3rcon Labs. We're talking about some advanced phishing tactics. The main basis of our talk is basically why user awareness is not working. So basically, this is the obligatory table of contents type slide. Basically, what we're talking about is what is spearfishing. Just a disclaimer, we actually wrote this talk for some more corporate type conferences that we did about a week ago, and we're just recycling it. We like it. We hope you all do too, but some of the stuff is a little bit elementary in the beginning because there were some more corporate type people we were talking to, so bear that in mind. And so we're going to talk about how people are spearfishing us, and what can we do about it, and why are the current methods not working? Who here has been fished? Who here is related to the Prince of Nigeria? Awesome. So we all know what a phishing email is. So my name's Martin. I'm a senior security consultant. I also work on the Backtrack Linux project and co-founder of a little conference like this one called DerbyCon in Louisville, Kentucky.
Woo! Yay. And I'm Eric Milam, also senior security assessor. If you guys heard of EtterCap, we took that over. Easy Crates and SMB Exact are two of the tools I've been working on.
All right, so just in case anybody doesn't know, what is spearfishing? You know, what's the difference between phishing and spearfishing? So phishing is, excuse me, phishing is when you get an email like, you know, that you're related to the Prince of Nigeria. Everybody's got one of those. Spearfishing is basically when we as attackers, and when I say we as attackers, I mean pen testers, not attackers for real. But so what we're trying to do is target a specific organization, group of people, business unit, and sometimes an individual, although I have really big qualms about how good spearfishing one person works. However, it's happened. What we're talking about is targeting like an organization is what we're talking about when we talk about spearfishing. Is that, oh. So here's some victims of spearfishing attacks. I don't know if anybody reads the news, but apparently the White House was the victim of a phishing attack.
Yay, China.
And this is to let you know that this type of attack is alive and well. Obviously, we don't really know what happened, but somebody in the White House clicked an email that they weren't supposed to. And that just goes to show you that I bet you the people at the White House have been through extensive security training. I'm sure they've sat through all kinds of don't click this seminars by Boris. And it's clearly not working, right? So some other big victims of these attacks, you know, RSA, Epsilon, another big one were these nitro spearfishing attacks that targeted 50 chemical and defense companies, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, who's a defense contractor, and there's hundreds more, I mean, all over the place. Like, people are getting, I would almost venture to say that this is one of the most popular externally facing attacks on the internet today.
Which totally makes sense, because everybody's hardened their external perimeter, right? But we know if we get into the ooey gooey center, game over.
All right, so this is basically my validation for why do we pen test. I actually got into several arguments at the last conference that we were at about people that said that pen testing was pointless and that there was no reason to do it. And if anybody knows me, I like to argue, but if I get up and leave, I'm really mad. And so I got up and left this dude's conversation. But
not until after he finished his cheesecake.
So basically, you know, we do these spearfishing attacks against ourselves so that we can test our clients' security systems. We're not just testing their users. See, we don't just want to make users look stupid. What we're doing is we're testing all of the controls that are in place to prevent this type of thing. You know, egress filtering, network segmentation, incident response. I mean, there's a whole chain of things that need to be tested by a successful spearfishing attack. Embarrassing users is not the goal, and showing users that they'll click on anything is not the goal. Obviously, there's a little subsection for user awareness. I'm not against it, but I'm just saying that I don't think that we need to put all our eggs in the user awareness basket.
Yeah, and if you guys think about it, from the point someone clicks a link until a shell actually gets out, there's several layers of defense, and that's what we're going to talk about as well.
All right, so here are my obligatory statistics. Every presentation has to have some statistics. Like I said, these were more for the corporate types we were talking to, but this was a survey done by Proofpoint at the last big Microsoft conference, and they interviewed about 350 organizations. And so 51% of them had believed that they had been victim of a spearfishing attack. And more than 1/3 of those 50% believed that their spearfishing attack had resulted in some type of compromise, malware, login credentials, whatever. So that's quite a bit. This is basically the anatomy of how an email attack works. Basically, we do a lot of target research, and so this is the difference in a spearfishing attack and a regular phishing attack. Is a phishing attack doesn't require any research, right? We just send the email out to as many email addresses as we got off that Iranian web board that we could find. So we're really invested in step one. We spend a lot of time researching our targets, and we'll show you one of the main tools that we use. We like to not only find email addresses for a specific company that we're targeting, but we like to find out where they live, which people are working in the same office, and the most important thing that we like to find out is what position those people actually have, because we like to filter out people from the IT department and people that might otherwise find a phishing email fishy and report it. The people that we like to target the best are HR departments, you know, because HR departments, their entire job is to sit at their desk and open up PDFs and macro-enabled Word documents all day long. That's their job. See, so you can't fault those users for opening suspicious documents all day long.
The research also gives us an ability to find out what they're actually running in the environment, so we can build our payloads accordingly. You know, if it tells us on LinkedIn job board, you know, what AV they're running, or you know, they're looking for somebody with specifically McAfee implementation or Symantec or whatever it is. It gives us a better idea based on what we've done in the past with our payloads, what we might need to incorporate or implement to get our shells out.
And like Eric was saying, we use the email addresses to search message boards, right? Like, so we take, you know, company.com and do some Google searching and, you know, find the Juniper forums, and you got some guy that's like, hey, I'm trying to get my Juniper firewall working and I'm having trouble with egress filtering these 3 ports, and here's the config, paste bit. You know, so
with the SNMP right string.
We love it when people do that, and we especially love it when you post for a job on LinkedIn that says we need a semantic expert. You know, oh, well, of course they have semantic AV. So that type of stuff helps. So doing your research, just like in every situation, really, really helps on executing a proper spearfishing attack.
All right, so as Martin started talking about email harvesting, right? We gather email addresses for the target. There's tools there at the bottom. We're going to go through one for you. The good thing about the tool that we're going to show you is it actually shows you the department the person works in, where they're actually physically located, what city, state, what their job title is. So it's really easy to say, all right, this guy's a network architecture, this guy has security in his title, so we're going to go ahead and remove this person, because that's someone that's going to raise a red flag right away and maybe get do some black holing with the DNS to get our site so that the internal sites, they can't get to it. So we use Goomail, GooHost, Harvester, custom scripts, again, LinkedIn, but the one that we like the best is Jigsaw. How many people have heard of Jigsaw, just the website Jigsaw?
I did this morning.
So the cool thing about the website Jigsaw is it's from Salesforce.com. It's for people who hand out business cards. So you go to a sales function, you hand out your business card and or enter for that new drawing for the free iPad or whatever it is, and then they take that business card and they upload it onto this website. So that's how we know what the names and titles of these people are. If you pay for the service, you can also get the phone numbers and actual emails out. But most of us know that most email addresses are going to be first initial last name or first name dot last name, and even if they're not, like I think Google, you can make up your own. So if you're like awk at google.com, there's still on the backside on the Exchange server, there's probably some aliases that are created with first initial last name. They'll still point to that email address.
Hold on, you go.
All right, so yeah, so
you can talk about it.
So we're going to go ahead and demo for you real quick the Jigsaw script. So this is written by a guy that actually works for us. Jigsaw recently implemented cookies, so we're working on getting the code updated to get it working.
Yeah, there's a little issue with this code right now, but so by the end of the day it should be working again. Basically what we're doing here is we're going to look for a company. So the first thing you want to do is do an S and search for the company. And so we were going to pick on Humana. Sorry if anybody works there. Just a disclaimer, we didn't send Humana any emails, we didn't do anything to their organization, this is all passive. And so basically what it'll do is it will search for Humana, and Jigsaw operates by IDs, so this is everything that it found for Humana, but you can see at the top it gives us the ID for Humana Incorporated, which is the real healthcare place, and it's given us 1,871 employees, and that's quite a bit more than any of these other old school email harvesting scripts usually ever find. So you just give it the ID number, 185,862, and then you just give it an R and you write it out to a give it a report name, and it writes it out to a CSV file. The only other thing that it asks you is that if it finds multiple domains that are linked to Humana, you just got to choose the domain, so we're just going to do Humana.
So like if a company buys another company and it's still got the domain, but what this will do is when it builds the actual emails for you in the CSV, this is the domain that's going to get used for the email examples.
And so this takes a while, so we've actually got it already listed out here. So basically you just open it up.
And it's empty.
Uh-oh.
Oh crap.
Hold on.
That's probably the one that just created.
Yeah, I'm fine with this old one. Sorry, we were having some issues with it, so here we go. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, sorry about that.
Yeah, so as we were talking about, you can see here we've got the first name, last name, we've got the full name, we've got the department that they work in, and you could really easily set up a filter. Like I said, we filter out the IT, there's the position. If you keep scrolling over, you'll see it creates 2 email aliases for you automatically based on the domain that you provided it in that one step, and then just first initial last name and first name dot last name.
City and state.
City and state where they're actually located. So if you wanted to target a specific region, a specific department, whatever, you have all those names in there.
And so like what we like to do is like go over here to department, for example, like so, and like we could grab all the IT and IS people and we could go ahead and filter them out of there.
Of course we would leave in the director though, because we know he's going to click our link, and that'll be the most embarrassing thing.
So anyway, that's just one of the tools that we use for email harvesting, but you can see that that gave us 1,800 targets just to begin with just a couple of commands.
So here's the cool thing about that list. So we've got a list of 1,800 emails, right? We know probably not all of them are right. Here's something that we like to do that not a lot of other people do. Normally they'll just send out an email to those 1,800. What I like to do is I like to create, I have a fake Gmail account, Jim Smith, and I just create a fake email that says Sylvia's 60th birthday party. Sylvia is my mom's name, and I just basically say, howdy friends and family, make something up fake. I send it out to those 1,800. I like to do this about a week ahead of time. Because what happens is, number one, it'll filter out, most of the time it'll filter out what email addresses are invalid. We've been told plenty of times by plenty of companies that, oh, if you send it to an invalid email address, it'll just drop it. That's 99.9% of the time not the case. It doesn't matter if they've configured it or worked with Microsoft, whatever, we still end up getting bounce back. So we're able to filter that out. But the cool thing that we get out of this too is, especially during summer or holidays, is we get kickback saying, hey, I'm out of the office, but you can talk to so-and-so. And then we could look up and say, oh, so-and-so's not on our list. So we add them to our list. So we start getting more people. We get the title of the people. We get phone numbers for the people. We get all kinds of information. And one of the coolest things we got recently was their legal disclaimer, their footer for their emails. So all these things help to build when we actually build our email that we're going to send out. It builds, that trust level. If the language looks the same, if it's laid out the same, we see how their emails are laid out. We see how their signatures are laid out. Does it include an image? Does it not include an image? So we can mimic that as closely as we can, because we want to exploit the trust that exists there.
All right, so we'll come back to the email, but so those are the first things that we do. The next thing that we do is we have to create a scenario, right? How are we going to get these people to click on the link? So the first thing that we like to do is register a real domain. You know, back in the day, there were all these email phishing scripts that you could use from the command line, but email filters and fancy appliances have, you know, way surpassed that. They don't accept emails from root anymore, you know, or whatever. So what we like to do is register a real domain with GoDaddy because they're so cool. They give you one free email address with every domain registration. And so what we found in analyzing most of those email appliances is that the one major thing that they drop emails on is reverse DNS. So if there's no reverse DNS set up, it will drop your mail automatically. So what we like to do is register a real domain, and we get our real GoDaddy email address with reverse DNS and the whole 9 yards, and it's legit. And we'll show a little bit more how we do that in a second. The next thing we do is create a scenario. You know, what are we going to use to phish these people? The one that we always try to use on pen tests is we like to target open enrollment, 401k, health benefits, you know, all that kind of stuff. Never gets approved. Never. Not one time have we ever had that scenario get approved because apparently messing with people's health benefits is uncool. Who knew?
It's too real.
So years ago, we used to do a work from home one, which was pretty good. We would send out an email that said, we're only selecting 50 people for a pilot program to work from home on Fridays. Just fill out this survey. Do not forward this to any of your friends, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that one worked really good for a while, but work from home started getting flagged by email servers because I guess somebody else, you know, I guess there was another phish like that on the internet. And so another one that gets flagged all the time is the OWA upgrade. The only reason we use this is we have some clients that are not security mature enough for some of the email attacks that we do, so they've asked for something a little bit dumbed down to sort of give their users a chance. So a few years ago, there was a giant OWA upgrade phish across the internet. So we've actually copied that, and we use that sometimes when companies are just starting out. Because like I said, our goal is not to embarrass the users. Our goal is just to conduct a successful phish so everyone can see what happened. So we have an OWA one. It's got misspellings on the website and everything, you know, in order to sort of give the users a chance. But our absolute favorite one is the security report. And that's what we're going to show everybody today. Cat's going to be out of the bag, I guess, but it doesn't matter. But we love the security report because it works everywhere. Every single organization has security, and every single organization always has some kind of random people walking around that you're not really sure what they're doing, right? Especially in IT, you've always got some consultants in there or some people doing a risk assessment or something. And so what we like to say is, hey, this company just had a security audit, and people will be like, oh, that was those weird looking guys that were walking around last week, you know. And then we also like to throw in there, we'll show you the whole email, but we also like to throw in there that some people got in trouble, you know. Some people weren't following security policies. That piques people's interest. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to see who got in trouble.
A lot of times they think it's them, right? I got to look and see if it was me. Maybe I got tricked, and then they're basically getting tricked. So.
All right, so these are sort of the 5 steps that I like to follow when I'm creating the email. The subject is the most important part, right? The subject line that comes up in your little email client or whatever, because if that's not good, then nobody's going to open the email. It's got to be easy to read. You know, you can't write these things with a PhD because it won't be realistic, you know. I mean, you have to write in normal people, corporate type language. Obviously, depending on the organization that you're going to be at. You know, if you're targeting some, you know, farm machinery organization in Kentucky, you might want to throw a couple of y'alls in the email. And I'm from Kentucky, so I'm not making fun of us. But I'm just saying you want to make it easy to read and conducive to the people that you're sending it to. And along those lines, it should be legit, right? So there shouldn't be any misspellings. There shouldn't be any grammar issues. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I send an email out to my entire company, I'll proofread it like 5 or 6 times because I don't want to look like an idiot, you know? And so I spend a lot of time making sure that my email is perfect. Giving the users a reason to click, you know, obviously we have to get them to execute some kind of action. You know, the days of just opening an email and being infected with the Black Plague are over, you know. People have to click on something, they have to accept something, they have to run something, they have to do something. So you have to give them a reason to click. And I already touched on that, but make it fit the organization, right? Like the example that I use is if we know the organization has 85% part-time employees, we would not send them a phishing email about open enrollment because why? Part-time employees don't have insurance, right? So it wouldn't make sense.
So here's our standard phishing email. I know you guys probably can't read it, but there are a few things here. Basically what we do is we always end up sending it from Information Security and Assurance, which is infosec at, in this case it's humanaportal.com. So what we do is when we set up the domain, it's usually companyname-portal.com, and then when we set up our server, we just add secure dot whatever as a subdomain. We send it out to, normally in the we'll send it out to employees at whatever.com. We know that's going to bounce, we don't care, and put everybody in the BCC line. So here's our basic layout. What you've got here at the bottom, I spent about 5 seconds Googling and I got the Humana logo, put that in there. We've got the actual address and phone number. What we were talking about earlier when I sent out the initial email, that Jim Smith email, sometimes you'll actually get like a phone number for their internal help desk. That's good to put in there. Then they'll start calling their help desk. I mean, everything looks legitimate. We got the bold in the right place. Here, this link, one of the things that users are always taught is to hover over a link and see if it actually goes where it says it's going to go. We always make sure it does. So that's a level of trust there. Even though it's completely wrong, they should recognize that that's not a legitimate place where I should be going to do this. When they hover over it, it goes there. So it's not any type of obfuscation. But basically what it says is, as you know, security is an integral part of our aspect, and recognizing that we performed an audit. Based on that, we were able to see that some employees and contractors didn't adhere to our policies. So the auditors are successful in compromising systems and people and all kinds of stuff. So in this paragraph down here, what we end up telling them is, hey, it's your duty as a member of our company organization to go out, sign into this secure website, download it, and read it. It's up to you guys to help us protect ourselves from spearfishing attacks, those types of things. So you can't see it, but farther down in the original email, it actually has that legal footer down there. So all these things, these little things, try to help build trust when someone actually looks at it, right? The email looks professional, it's spaced correctly, we've got the right signature line, everything looks good, everything looks legit.
All right, so the next thing you got to do is choose the attack vector, right? And so this goes back to our research, what type of AV are they using? What type of, are we targeting the HR department, particular favorite, So the couple that, that we use are obviously infected PDFs. I mean, Adobe's got a 0 day every week, so you got a pretty good chance of one of those working. VB macros and Word and Excel documents. And let me just go back by saying that none of this stuff is new and none of this stuff is revolutionary. Unfortunately, this stuff is all still working is the problem. Word and Excel documents with macros still works all the time. The main things that we like to use are from Dave Kennedy's tool Set right over there. So we like to use the credential harvesting. We like to throw a nice malicious exe in there because or two. You never know. And of course, we like to use the Java applet, and we have a special Java applet from Dave that he gave us that we can't give anyone, but we can show you. And so, anyway, so what we like to do is we like to get a combination of these things, just in case one doesn't work. We like to have backup. So what we're going to do for this demo that's hopefully going to work is we're going to do some credential harvesting. We got a malicious exe in there, and we're going to do the Java applet, which, once again, I'm sure everybody's seen, but we're going to show you how you can make a legit one.
One other thing we should note that we didn't is spearfishing attacks are the most politically charged tests that you'll ever do in an organization. So if you are a pen tester, you make sure that you get buy-in as far up the tree as you can. You talk to your customer and let them know, hey, human nature is fickle. You might not react the same way as the next person. I mean, we've been threatened to be sued. We've had our websites pulled down. We've had everything. From people getting upset for being phished or falling for it. So if you're wanting to do this within your organization, I say again, do your research, get recommendation as high up the tree as you can. Our goal is not to get anybody fired or anything like that, but I'm sure we've caused plenty of shitstorms by doing this, even though we're doing legitimately everything that they've asked us to do and not going outside the bounds. Yes?
Even if you don't necessarily include it in your report, do you actually track, let's say, so you can get it down to the actual individual who's looking on links?
So usually we're looking at a way to do that, but usually usually we don't want to harp on people just for visiting the website. Now, once they click on the link, obviously some type of code of some kind is going to run, and then one of the first things we do is grab the system info. So, but no, we don't call out anybody specifically in the report at all.
We specifically stay away from that because we don't want anybody to get in trouble, right? I mean, we can tell them we've gotten so many people that have logged in and we've got credentials and we know they're valid, but we never give up the username. Even in our reports, we don't give up the username. It's all statistics.
I'm trying to hurry this up, so just talk about the website.
So basically, I mean, here's the website. Again, we got the logo. It's a secure portal because it says it is. You'll notice at the top it says secure as well. You notice there's no lock there, but that's cool because we put a lock right there by the employee login. So we know it's legit, we know it's safe. We just got a standard login with the login button. We've got a nice little trouble logging in, and Martin will show you what that does. We've got their security notice, and it's red, so it's important. So, it basically just says information contained within is confidential and is intellectual property of Humana Incorporated and its affiliates. System is actively monitored, and access records are collected, which they are, only by us, not them. And it even says, use of the information and/or applications contained in the system, e.g., the introduction of malicious code, tampering or interference or disruption of the service is prohibited. So we take care of all that for them.
So we got this, and obviously this logs any user credentials that come in. The one kind of thing we like to do is we got a little trouble logging in because one thing that we do is we actively monitor the GoDaddy account. So after we send out the phishing emails, we get a lot of people that actually email back and say, hey, I can't log into the site. What's going on? There's something wrong. So what we do is we have this help desk page.
Yeah, so basically it just says, hey, we're sorry you're experiencing some problems logging in. Why don't you click this link, click the run button when it comes up. It'll install a little help desk application. I can chat with you live.
So you see down there at the bottom, we got our help desk exe down there.
Yeah.
I know none of y'all would ever do that,
No.
but it works.
I bet, yeah. Think
All
about
right.
all the other people in your office who'd be like, oh, game on.
So that's our site. The other one cool thing that you can do with GoDaddy is...
Oh, okay. So here's one of our other favorite things. We like to get as malicious as possible. So you could change the Whois data, right? And the reason you want to do that is there are some smart people who will go out and check the Whois data from the internet. So all you've got to do is log into your GoDaddy account, type in the organization. No, you can't read it. It says Humana, domain admins, has the address. So basically, I just looked up their Whois information and copied it directly into ours. And all I had to do was check this box that said, yeah, I certify that I'm with the organization. Not a problem. Click OK. Within 5 seconds, ours matches theirs. The main thing that might be different is if they host, if they don't register theirs with GoDaddy, that part will be different. So what we do a lot of times too is we'll go out and actually register the site where they register their sites. And then it looks almost 100% legit.
So you can see.
So here's ours where it says Humana Portal, GoDaddy.
So you can see up here I did a Whois on our humana-portal.com site. And down here we're legit.
Yeah, the only thing I ever change in the email is a lot of times they'll say domain admin or whatever it is. I just had an S on the end. So domain admins.
GoDaddy rocks.
Yes, we love GoDaddy. Except for their SOPA stance, of course.
Of course. All right, so next thing you got to do real quick, because I got to hurry up, is obviously choosing the payload. I know this is more of my corporate slide. Everybody's heard of Metasploit. Obviously, we like to use Metasploit because everything's built in. The listeners are there. It's easy peasy. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. The main things that we worry about is reverse connection. So when you're reverse connecting outside of an organization, TCP is just really difficult, right? Organizations have egress filtering, IDSs, IPSs, and all kinds of stuff. So TCP barely ever works anymore. We like to look at HTTP and HTTPS because those are always allowed outside of an organization. However, nowadays they're doing, they're getting a little bit more crafty. They're doing stuff like binary packet inspection and that kind of thing over SSL. Not very often, but sometimes they are. So Generally, we stick with the HTTP and HTTPS, but recently we pen tested an organization that we knew had outbound egress filtering. We knew that their 80 and 443 were being monitored with binary packet inspection, so we didn't know how we were going to get out of the network. So basically, there's a newer payload called in Metasploit from Interpreter called Reverse TCP All Ports, and basically you give it a beginning port, and it tries every single one to get out of the network until it finds one. The difficult part about this is you have to set up your reverse listener with IP table rules so it forwards every single port to the one port that your interpreter shell is listening on. So that was the trick that we had to figure out, but we did have this work and we got out on port like 47,000 like something or other, you know, something really obscure and ridiculous that they just missed somehow or whatever.
Or some really weird app that they needed to get functioning, they decided to open up.
But it worked.
We got shells, that's all that matters.
And then the last thing is obviously defeating AV. Everybody knows Metasploit gets wiped off the board by almost every AV out there. It does come with some encoders, but those are not, they do help, but they're not for AV obfuscation. So then we run into, you know, stuff like custom packers, doing some binary obfuscation, and digitally signed binaries and applets. We like to digitally sign all our stuff because it's so easy. Dave taught us how to do that. So
$199 at GoDaddy, you can get a certificate to sign all your stuff.
And so another thing that we like to use, and this is super simple, we got just a little,
year.
but just to show you, like we got just a little bit, about 30 lines of bash right here, where we basically, you know, create an exe with Metasploit. We do some set on some of the bad characters. We do some byte randomization in here, and then we come down and we just recompile it back into a C binary, and comes out, you know, whatever we just call it backdoor exe, but whatever. But just those little 30 lines of bash will make it around a whole bunch of AVs, and I'll show you. I'm not going to pick on Accuvant, but you'll see here in the demo we got my Accuvant corporate Windows 7 VM here. We're running the latest and the greatest. We got McAfee.
And it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And we got
patched.
We got Big Fix, Trivoli Endpoint Manager.
We're good to go.
We're good to go. We're fully patched.
One thing too about that
keep that in
binary
mind.
obfuscation code, it's all automated in SMB exec. So if you guys load up SMB exec, it'll create your payload obfuscated and create you an RC file based on the payload that you created.
Those 30 lines of bash, the only AV I haven't been able to get around is that pesky Microsoft Security Essentials. We have some other ways to get around that, but other than that, that just little bit of code works.
And we hate to give up.
It's probably not going to work tomorrow after somebody sees this, but whatever. And then obviously the end goal of the social engineering, not the basis of this talk, but I have to hit on it, is the post-exploitation. What are you going to do once you get a shell? The most important part, you know? Getting the shell is not always that difficult, but what are you going to do with it? How are you going to keep it open? How are you going to get back in? And most importantly, what data are you after? Because we need to find data on a pen test. You know, we need to find what the company uses to make money, because that's what's going to have the impact on the C-level people when you deliver your report. You know, I don't know a lot of CSOs that really understand, you know, what I compromised your domain controller and now I'm king of the kingdom. Well, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, but
I did.
except for Dave. But if you get in there and you're like, hey man, I broke into your Wendy's and I accessed your secret sauce formula in the database and I'm selling it on the Chinese black market, you know, that creates an impact, right? What does the company use to make money? Oh, all right.
Now we're going to do
So now we're going to try to demo this and put it all together, and hopefully it's going to work. Oh, I forgot to look. Oh, well. Hold on.
Did you get the listener going?
No. So the first thing we're going to do, I forgot to
I'm going
log
to do a
into
little
my
song and
email.
dance first.
Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log into our portal. And we, of course, all have this set up.
Oh, the email.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but I can't do it now. Or I guess I can try, but...
So one other thing too that we like to do to create trust on the website, one thing I didn't point out, it's a small piece, but it sometimes makes a difference, is you know, how many people know about favicons for websites, right? So just going out and taking one of their logos, creating a favicon and making sure that that shows up, that's always a good thing. You know, it's just another layer of trust. Like we said, nothing revolutionary. But when you put all these little things together, it just keeps building and building onto the trust for it.
And this is just a plain old Metasploit RC file, nothing revolutionary here, but I just catted it to show you all. You know, we like to, one thing that feature in Metasploit that we use on every single pen test is the spool feature, which records every single thing you do in the console. If you're not using that and you're on a pen test, you're doing it wrong. Because I can't tell you how many times we've had to go back and look through our spool file and prove to somebody that we didn't tip over a domain. It wasn't us, basically, or it was us in some. But so I always like to keep an accurate record of what we did. So we all know this takes forever to load. So then what we do is we go over here and we'll log into our free GoDaddy email account, right? infosec@humana-portal.com. And what we do is we just save it in templates, so we're good to go.
And from there we can blast it out to whoever we want.
So here's our email, like Eric was showing you. You can see at the bottom we got the actual Humana, footer down there, so it's legit, right? Because we got that. We call it Information Security Audit Report Findings, the whole 9 yards.
The priority, of course, is high, so it gives it that red exclamation mark for you.
And so we'd send that off. Like so. Oh, whoops. Whatever.
And normally what we do is we put basically it's limited by 100 people in the BCC, so you can see if we have 1,800 people, we're going to send this out 18 times. That's another reason why we create the template. It'll pop up every once in a while and ask you, it'll do the CAPTCHA to make sure you're not, a bot sending out these emails. But you can send out, 10 within 10 minutes.
All right, so here, and like I said, I'm using my corporate VM, so I'm picking on my own company, nobody else's. And so here's the email in my Outlook. Oh, I gotta check one more thing, sorry. So Dave's Java applet, I'll show you, does this really cool thing, but it sucks for demos. It actually, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm good. All right. All right, so let's make sure our listeners up. And once again, this isn't revolutionary. Everybody's seen Dave do this Java applet in this set thing. Oh, that's because I just installed. Oh, I just installed the newest version of Java this morning. And then so.
Notice how it says safe? That's pretty dope. Somebody told me they did that. So, right there they see it right in bold, right? It's safe. I'm at the Humana site. It's secure. I see a lock. I see the security notice. And one thing you can't see is it says always trust content from this publisher.
Yeah, it doesn't show up right in IE9. This is IE9 too, by the way. So it doesn't show up right, but Dave has it so it auto checks this always trust content from publisher box. So I got to go in there and delete the certificate all the time because I'll forget. But the reason that once again, this is not new, this is not revolutionary, it's been in set forever, but what we want to show here is that Dave was able to go out and register a company and basically get a code signing certificate for this applet, all for, under $1,000 probably, really cheap, and anybody can do this. And so, and you can basically call the company whatever you want, and you can, it's safe. And so this is the kind of thing that we like to do at Accuvon too. We like to code sign all our binaries. We like to do this type of thing. And the reason is it's so cheap to do. And as soon as people see that it's verified by a publisher, they're good to go.
Another thing that's dope is what we do is we set up a Linode box, which costs 50 cents or something. And that's what we run all of our stuff off of. And then once you're done with it, you shut it down, it's gone. Like it never existed.
And so, once again, this is pretty normal, but let's try to uncheck this. I don't know why this doesn't show up in IE9. It's kind of annoying. But anyway.
By the way, you can change that name to whatever you want. That name parameter is configurable. So if you're targeting Humana, you can make it Humana Incorporated or whatever, so it makes it more believable too.
Right.
Yeah, basically all we did, we set up reverse DNS so that it says that humana.com. So you'll notice here we've got our shell.
Standard shell, and so nothing new here. Oh. You actually have to do it right, apparently.
Hey, Martin, did you get 1 or 2 shells there?
Just one.
Just one?
Is that Windows 7?
Yes.
I took your set stuff and I changed it.
Oh,
I
okay.
changed it in my index.
Yeah, ours has changed a little bit
Because
because
you get 2 because it does the power cell injection first and then it does the binary dropper second.
yeah, so we made our own. Before that's why I was asking you if it did all that stuff yesterday. So Dave's, we actually customized our website a little bit because in the beginning it didn't do quite what we wanted it to, but now Dave's does. So we'll probably be switching this up a little bit, but the other 2 things that it does is obviously this logs to a file just like the plain old credential harvester. And then once again, if you have trouble logging in, you can go down here and you can run the helpdesk.exe.
Also, when you click login, all it does is go to an excessive requests page, and that's why we get a lot of emails back from the users. That basically just says, hey, there's excessive requests, the server's down, why don't you try again later? And that's another reason why the trouble logging in, you know, hey, I'm using, what credentials am I supposed to use, that type of stuff. So that's normally something that they'll go after as well.
I think it'll go to it if I do it here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we like this better than a 404 page.
Right.
Excessive
It
requests.
still all looks the same, right? It looks like it's, you know, it's not an error message really, or it
Right.
looks like a custom page.
And it makes sense because everybody in the entire company just got this email and they're all trying to download the PDF at the same time.
Right.
So like this looks legit, right?
At least that's our story and we stick to it when we talk to them.
Real quick, if anybody's interested in that Jigsaw script, it is in Backtrack, but it's also up here on GitHub at pentestgeek/Jigsaw. If you want to download that and utilize it. If you're interested in the real Jigsaw website, it's right here. You can actually just sign up for free and browse the site. This script takes advantage of a flaw in their API, but you can just create an account and log in and get that information that way. All right, so that's how the attack works. But like every good presentation, we want to talk about what we're really here to talk about is why user awareness isn't working, and so once again, this was more of our corporate slide, but things to look for in an email. Do you know the sender? Is there some malicious attachment to it? Can the information in the email be used to attack you or your company? This sounds elementary, but you've got to really read an email if you don't know who it's from, especially if it asks you to take some kind of action. I'll just give a quick example. At our work, they contracted some third-party company to do like a compensation survey kind of thing, right? Which do you think it's pretty standard, I think, in the industry. Do you think you're being compensated correctly or whatever? So, but the company that was doing this didn't consider that they were sending it to a security company. So everybody in our group got this email the other morning that was like, log on and fill out this survey. And everybody, all of a sudden, the emails start flying back and forth. We're submitting it to, IT. Why did your firewall catch this? We're never falling for this. On and on and on and on. And it was legit, like it was a total legit email. But the thing is that, they didn't validate it. And so everybody in our group was like, there's no way we're filling it out. And so even after they said it was legit, nobody still filled it out because it didn't come from our company. And
I filled it out because I told them I wanted an extra $100K a year.
Anyway, is the link suspicious or raising any flags? Like we showed you, we like to use the actual link. We don't like to obfuscate our links. So a lot of times people have been taught to hover your mouse over the link, and if it tells you to go somewhere else, then it's not legit. But even if the entire URL is not legit, as long as the link is going to where that says it's going to go, you see that match in your mind, you'll almost always go there. I know nobody in this room would, but anybody else. So, and obviously IT or security would never ask you for your password. And once again, a lot of this stuff sounds kind of elementary, but people are falling for this stuff every day.
We wouldn't be up here talking about it if it wasn't happening all the time.
I hate to admit this, but one of the main ways that you can limit exposure to this stuff is patch your motherfucking systems. This stuff, these are some of the most attacked things. Everybody's looking for an Adobe zero-day, Flash, Java, Microsoft, all these things. These are the most widely attacked systems. So one of the first things you can do is not buy some fancy piece of email equipment. It's work on your patching process. Is a 30-day cycle enough? Can we afford to wait 30 days to patch Microsoft? There's things that we can do internally in our organizations that are already in place to prevent some of this stuff.
We all know blinky lights don't fix it. So basically, like Martin was talking about, limiting exposure, like what do we want to do? One of the main things that we see when we're at an organization is their network segmentation's horrible. If I get on a laptop or a desktop in California, I can usually see the entire organization, China, India, whatever. So you want to think about network segmentation. These are all the steps that you want to think about from the time that a user clicks the link until that shell gets out, like Martin's did, to our attacking server. There's all kinds of steps in between, right? Number one, did AV pick it up? If it didn't, is there a host-based IPS? Did that pick it up? No. Okay, the next step should be, is there an IDS IPS in place? Did that pick it up? If it gets past that, is there any type of egress filtering that's out there? Did that pick it up? Yes or no? You know, what exactly is out there? Is there like advanced malware detection? Did that pick it up? Yes or no? So there's all these steps that happen even if the user falls for it. And why we say that user awareness is definitely important. We're not saying don't educate the users. What we're saying is you guys as defenders of the networks or other individuals as defenders of the network, it's not about testing the users. You want to test that entire path from the point that the user clicks it, because if we've got 2,000 individuals, you know at least one person's going to click it. So what's your defenses through there? And the good thing about that is you can test that all the way through, right? What's working, what's not working, what caught it, what didn't catch it, am I spending the money in the right places? So if you don't have these types of items, things like, we'll say credential harvesting, there's no two-factor authentication on your OWA. Who actually has OWA exposed externally without two-factor authentication? Anybody want to raise their hand and admit it?
Everybody.
Right. There we go. Larry in the back.
Larry's honest.
So basically, right, if you get that, then once you've got that, you log into the OWA, and then you do a search for term passwords, or you use a script and dump their global address book, and now you've just widened your actual spearfishing attack to everybody in the company.
And when you can send it internally now,
right,
from a legit email.
What you can do is you can take the email that they got, we've done this before, is forward it on and say, hey, Betty Joe, did you get this email? Can you click this link and try it and let me know, or send it out to a group and say, hey, I got this. I can't get to it. Can you guys click on this and check it out? So yes, user awareness is extremely important in educating them, but don't put all your chips in that basket, because there's lots of stuff that we defend or can use to defend within the network that we should be looking at.
And network segmentation is the main thing that we don't see. This is stuff that's already in place in the organization. You do not have to buy a fancy appliance. You just have to get somebody that knows how to write Cisco rules or Juniper rules. And what I mean by network segmentation is like, I was bashing on the HR department before. They blindly open up Word documents and PDFs all day long. Well, that's their job. So what can I do as an IT defender to segment the HR department? Because that's what they're going to do, because that's their job. So, what I do is I take them as business units when I make a recommendation, and I say, this is the HR department, and all they need to do is get to the internet, Facebook, and there's 2 or 3 internal applications where they enter in their customer data or their applicant data or whatever, and they need to be able to get to Active Directory, and that's it. So I make up a list of what they need to be able to get to, and I'll block them from everything else in the network. And you can do every single business unit in your organization that way. Is it difficult? Sure. Does it suck? Yeah. But you're going to be protected when somebody clicks the link.
And please, for the love of God, segment your dev environment, please. Because we destroy that. That's the first place we look for. Because we know shit's going to be on the network that's not patched. So basically, summing it all up, right? User awareness should not be the end goal of social engineering. Yes, it is important, but there's many layers that exist from the time that a malicious attacker sends that payload or does those different things before the shell gets out. Testing should encompass all defenses of an organization. Again, we got lots of blinky lights, right? You've spent all this money and budget making the organization, solid or solidified or fortified, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you're spending that money in the right place. If you just spent $2 million on a blinky light device and you test it and it doesn't work, how are you going to feel about that?
And do not hire the pen test team of the people that sold you the device.
Yes.
Hire a different team. And I'm saying that our company sells blinky light stuff over here, and we're on the pen test team. We don't have anything to do with that. But if our company sells you a device, we're not going to have our company come in and pen test it. Get a different company to do it.
Plus, Martin and I, and I'm sure others in our group, we have no problems blowing up our TS department. If they implemented something and we're there to test it, we're going to completely destroy it if we can. So not a lot of organizations are like that, but we pride ourselves in that. That's it.
Oh. All right. Anybody have any questions?
Questions?
All right. Thanks everybody for listening to us.
Two quick things. I have tickets.